day will be unforgettable.
No, it won't. New Deadlock patch dropped. And we have a new tier 4 item, Indomitable. The next stun, chain, immobilize, sleep or silence is automatically cleansed. And that goes for every single stun in the game. This patch is quite massive and we'll get right into it. I'll give you the rundown of everything. This is on the store page because there's a bigger patch. And I'll give you the biggest winners, losers, a lot of balance changes, but a lot of overall gameplay changes. That should at least freshen the game up. Looks really cool. Okay, we'll start with the basics. Health per boon got reduced by 7, okay? Base health per boon, that means every single character that levels up gets less health, okay? So there's gonna be less health overall in the game, but in return, Vitality investment got buffed a tiny bit percentage-wise, which means if you invest more into greens, you can stay as tanky, but overall, the HP of players is just gonna be lower overall, okay? This makes carries that used to scale really hard in terms of HP in the late game less tanky, which means this is indirectly a buff to tanks again, because tanks benefit the most from like getting HP increased. So overall, this should allow for more faster kills. It should make Spirit a bit better, especially in the late game. On top of that, weapon investment bonus got nerfed, okay? So the scaling of weapon bonuses is weaker, especially on early levels, I want to say. The big bonus, the 49 is back down to 46, and then in the late game, you don't get 135 anymore, you get 115. I don't know why they nerfed weapon scaling overall, because I think it was character specific, but I don't mind this, it's not the biggest deal. Reduced bullet damage growth by 10% for the following heroes. That's Bebop, Pocket, and Viper. Okay, so keep that in mind with every balance change going forward. Pretty massive nerfs to the left click of those 3 characters. A minor nerf to Victor because I hate Victor. I don't even think Victor was that good. Plus a buff to Mo and Krill and Apollo gun. Okay, on Mo, both those characters are not really doing a lot of gun damage. I don't think this is gonna matter much other than if you play melee Apollo. Melee Apollo is stronger because the damage on the melee also scales with the damage per bullet. Guardians, Base Guardians, and Shrines now have 10% bullet resistance. Okay, so they're tanky against bullets. Walker resistance got increased from 15 to 25 for the bullet resistance as well. So again, just like, I don't think the issue was every gun item. In fact, if you looked at the last night shift, it was still mostly spirit and green items being bought. I think it was a few standout characters. So this might make gun very weak. We'll have to see. The spirit enjoyers are definitely happy. Medic Trooper missing health percent healing reduced. So again, it's gonna make staying alive in lane more important. It's gonna make buying greens in lane more important. Plus the fixed regen growth per minute got reduced from 3 to 2. So Medic Troopers will not heal as much throughout the game. Getting knocked off bounce pads now sends you downwards quickly rather than continuing the trajectory towards the bounce pad destination. So if you step on the bounce pad now and the enemy shoots you off, this is what's gonna look like. Which means bounce pads got nerfed again. This was definitely a necessary change. They were too good because a lot of the time you could jump on the bounce pad and jump further away. Even if you got stunned, you got away. So now if you catch someone on a bounce pad, they will be fucked, okay? They will not get away fast and you will probably end up getting a kill for it. Which again, necessary nerf to bounce pads. They were too strong, especially in escape situations. So this is very much an appreciated change. Souls required for boons. This is a big one. Souls required for boons after 13k, 15k, 17k got changed. So now your maximum amount of boons gets there way faster, okay? So you need a maximum of 40k souls to get every single boon in the game. This does affect every character in the game, obviously. That means characters that really benefit from having multiple abilities maxed will come out on top. What comes to mind for me is Wraith. Wraith has a lot of really, really strong upgrades. Same for 7. I'm sure there's a lot of other characters that I can't think of right now. But overall, that should put some of the strength of every character really into the early game, which in turn also nerfs the late game carry potential of hard scalers that shoot their gun a lot, like Venator, like Geist, like Wraith. Interesting change, should speed up the game speed a tiny bit, and I really like this idea on paper. We'll have to see how it plays out. They fixed the all-scale filing for Yamato and Viscus, not working recently. Minor buffs. Both of those characters were already pretty good, so I'm always a bit concerned for it, but it's whatever. And then we have a new tier 4 item called Indomitable. Indomitable. Indomitable builds from Reactive Barrier, which was already a great item, right? So you don't have to build it right away. You build Reactive in the early game, and late game you get Indomitable. This has passive 8% bullet and spirit resist, so pretty decent base stats. Plus, again, you get a barrier and the next stun chain. Everything, every single CC in the game gets completely removed. It has a really long cooldown, to be fair, 55 seconds, right? So don't think of this as like a free unstoppable. It's really to shut down that one big stun that can really fuck you, right? So this is a really good counter if the enemy Moon Krill gets a lot of grabs on you, if you're like a hard carry. I think this item will be bought a lot on hard carries that really don't want to get hard CC'd unless you want to buy Unstoppable. I'm gonna experiment with this. Yeah, on base it seems really good. The stats on it seem really good. The barrier size is the exact same, so it has the base reactive barrier built in plus the effect. But I think the effect in itself is pretty powerful. Plus all your ability cooldowns get reduced by 20% when it gets activated, which means once the enemy uses it on you, all your ability cooldowns will immediately be reduced by quite a significant amount. Okay, so it's an instant minus 20% cooldown. I think overall, again, this is going to be a very situational item that is going to be very good. I'm kind of concerned with the cooldown being that long. 55 seconds really means it's going to be up once a fight maximum. Okay, you won't be able to reproc this, and 6k is 6k. It's a big investment. So we'll have to see how it plays out. It might get buffs down the line, but I'll definitely experiment with it. Really cool item. Active Reload got a buff to the fire rates from 22 to 25. This is actually getting close to being a crazy item that probably will be bought over Quicksilver Reload a lot of the time, a lot more of the time. 3% is quite a big deal, quite a big buff. Opening rounds got a massive nerf. The weapon damage got reduced from 45 bonus to 30, okay? So this is like, yeah, this is a 33% nerf to the weapon damage it gives you. But it now does upgrade from high velocity, including the stats, which is something I've been asking for a long time. High velocity by itself was a great item, right? But most of the upgrades were very mediocre or very situational. So this is now the way, if you want to be more consistent with your shots, if you like high velocity, opening rounds is now an easy way to get to, you know, have the same stats while having the effects of it. So, overall, it makes sense that they're nerfing the spirit power and the weapon damage because, again, it has the bonuses of high velocity built in, right? So if you look at this item now in a vacuum, I think it is very, very strong on characters that do benefit from the velocity, okay? So Warden comes to mind, and people were already running this on Wraith. High velocity, that is. People were already running high velocity on Wraith just so to make your shots more consistent on longer distance, right? So I could see this being crazy on some of the gun carries that want to buy this. I could also see this being a bit weaker on characters that don't really benefit from the velocity. Next up, Split Shot got the max stacks reduced from 6 to 5. The weapon damage per stack got reduced and the cooldown got increased. I think this is more so like a fuck you to Viper, right? In addition to the nerf to Viper's damage overall, this is an item that used to be, core on Viper, and it probably still is, but it's a lot weaker now, which makes it's a good change, right? Viper was ridiculous, especially on higher rank. Shadow Weave got a complete rework. It got moved from a tier 4 to a tier 3 item, so now it only costs 3.2k. The out of combat region got reduced from 10 to 5. The duration got reduced from 18 to 10. The ambush duration got reduced from 8 to 5. The cooldown got increased. The spot radius got increased, which means it's easier to spot the invisible person. And the ambush spirit power got reduced by quite a lot. Ambush fire rate gets reduced and ambush melee gets reduced. But if you look at all these changes, this is overall not a 50% nerf, right? You have to keep in mind this item is now twice as cheap. So I would say this is a massive buff to the item. And characters that run this item or want to run this item, which used to be something like Wraith in the past, will definitely benefit from this a lot more. I could also now, with it being so cheap, being bought more on like melee assassins that want to get in. Like you could buy this on Abrams, right? Get a free shoulder charge, and then you have the increased melee damage plus the increased fire rate spirit power. I think overall this item got a lot stronger, and I want to say that this item might turn out to be crazy, to the point where they have to nerf it, because the stats it gives you for the price now seem really, really good. Right? So 3k, we get Shadow Weave. The detection radius again is quite a bit bigger now. So the enemy will be able to see you from quite far away. And again, it doesn't last as long, but it doesn't really matter. Because, you know, once you get it off once,
stay where you are.
You will benefit from the stats it gives you. Alchemical Fire got a Spirit Power buff from 8 to 10. This item was already really good, so a slight buff, not a big change. Heroic Aura, cooldown reduction, bullet resistance aura increased. So again, another nerf to bullet damage. Blood Tribute now has an 8% debuff resistance, so no matter if it's on or off, you will have some debuff resistance. And the active debuff resist got reduced by a tiny bit. But overall, obviously, this is a buff, right? So if you have it on, you're now around roughly like 42% debuff resist, and if you have it off, 8%. So again, not the biggest deal. It's gonna help a tiny bit. Spiritual Overflow no longer grants 15% spirit lifesteal, now provides 15% ability duration. So on base, the item does not provide any spirit lifesteal anymore, but it gives you 15% ability duration. And the active now no longer provides 20% ability duration, but instead provides 20% spirit lifesteal. So you might think this doesn't change much because it's basically the same stats around it. But this is actually a buff to a lot of the characters that want to use this item. Because the problem with this item used to be that when you activate an ability that has a duration before, and you activated it before Spiritual Overflow would proc, the duration extension wouldn't work. But now, because it's on base, the duration extension always works, and the Spirit Lifesteal is going to come in naturally anyways, right? So this is definitely a buff to the item, and it's going to be bought more by characters that really like extending ability duration. Characters that come to mind, again, Wraith and Infernus, right? Both of those characters actually really like ability duration. So overall, good changes is going to make the item more viable on more characters. Frenzy got a complete rework. The entire spirit resistance of the item got removed, okay? So it doesn't give base spirit resistance anymore, and it doesn't give extra spirit resist when you're below 50% health. Instead, now, it gives you debuff resist. Plus, it has a really, really high fire rate increase, okay? So it's 50% fire rate increase on base, plus 40% when you're below 50% health. So this is gonna move the item definitely back into the meta, I wanna say, on hard carries. Because, again, if you're low, you don't want to get stunned, right? And if you're low, you really like the fire rate. This is going to bring Frenzy back in line with other carry items and would definitely be bought more. This item was not bought a lot. It was one of the worst items in the game. So this change really should put it back in its place. And again, debuff resist right now is a really, really good stat because stuns are just king, right? The reason Dispel Magic is so strong is because there's so many effects that you want to remove. And them adding more debuff resist to the game is going to make the game less stun heavy overall. Next up, we knew this was coming. Resto Locket got nerfed. The way they nerf Resto Locket is they increase the max stacks from 20 to 25, and max stamina restore happens at 25 stacks now, and they reduce the healing per stack, okay? So you will need more stacks to get the same amount of healing, and the healing per stack is going to be reduced. This item was absolutely crazy, so it needed its nerfs. Return Fire got buffed, base bullet resistance got increased, return damage of bullets got increased by 5%. Again, another nerf to bullet damage. I'm getting kind of worried because they keep on stacking these nerfs to bullet damage. Might make it kind of a crazy spirit meta. Reactive Barrier no longer restores 1 stamina on trigger. It no longer grants 6% base spirit resist, but now triggers of silence. Okay, so it's the same trigger as Indomitable, the upgrade that we just talked about. Overall, I want to say this is nerfs, even though, like, again, the scaling got nerfed, right? And the stats got nerfed. The fact that it can trigger off silences is really, really crazy. One of the big weaknesses of Reactive was that it was a very specific trigger that would only work on hard stuns, right? But now, because everything in the game silences you, it's going to be very easy for this to proc in fights, which overall should increase its uptime, right? Make it proc more often, which will help you more often. And again, it now has an upgrade, right? So there's more of a reason to buy it early on, just because you have an upgrade down the line that you can just upgrade it to and you don't have to sell it. Trophy Collector, also big rework. It got moved from a tier 3 item to a tier 2 item. All the initiates in chat are gonna be like, woo, finally! This item was really bad before. Now, it does give you less souls per stack. It gives you less out of combat region per stack. It gives you less ability range and no longer gives you any health per stack. But this is a buff. And this is actually kind of crazy. This is the first time we might be able to see Trophy Collector on a high level. Because again, it's half the price, right? And the souls per minute that you're getting, if you get a stack, didn't get nerfed by a lot, right? So it will pay back itself quite fast. And you wanted to buy this item early, so the issue was that if you bought it as like first 3k, you would give up a lot of your power, a lot of your damage, but it's way easier to justify a 1600 soul buy, right, compared to a 3.2k. So I will experiment with this. This looks like fun. On characters that go early ganks, look for early kills, I'm gonna run this on Apollo. I do think it's gonna be very, very strong. Definitely stronger than the old version of Trophy Collector, and definitely a more viable item now. Again, might be one of those dark horses that turn out to be absolutely broken. We'll see. Dispel Magic got a nerf. To be expected, was the most bought item in Night Shift, the pro tournament yesterday. It now gives less spirit resistance. Veil Walker now upgrades from sprint boots, including its stats. Plus, it got a bit of a nerf to bonus health. But again, this is a buff overall because you can now build it out of sprint boots and it gives you more movement speed, right? Or sprint speed. So, useful change. Bullet resistance. Bullet resilience now grants 3 out of combat regen. Spirit resilience now grants 3 out of combat regen. This is buffs. These items weren't bought at all in the last few weeks, months. So, welcome change. Counter spell nerf to the cooldown, 23 seconds instead of 20. Plus the bonus health got reduced from 75 to 50. Rescue Beam got a buff. This item was already really good. Cast range is now even longer. Colossus no longer grants 300 bonus health, but more base health percentage increase, okay? So again, even more of a buff on tanky characters. So they really want Colossus to be an item that you buy on tanks, like Abrams, like Schiff in the late game, right? Anyone that has high HP, this is going to be better on, whereas everyone else, it's going to be even weaker on. Leech, bonus health increased. The sum of the two components overall, nice buff to Leech. This item was really solid before, so unexpected buff. Inhibitor weapon damage reduced from 25 to 10. That was a base stat, by the way. Inhibitor just randomly gave you 25 weapon damage on base. Now it's only 10. Good nerf. That item was probably overstated. Suppressor no longer grants 50 bonus health. Now grants 8% bullet resistance. Again, another nerf to bullet resistance. Cold Front, damage height increased. They buffed this item. It was crazy before. Spirit Snatch steals more spirit power. Arctic Blast, damage height increased. Same as Cold Front. Scourge no longer grants cooldown reduction, but grants debuff resistance. Spirit Burn, DPS scaling increased, okay? So again, not the biggest changes, but all of these changes kind of work together to where Spirit is getting better and Gun is getting weaker. Lifesteal adjustments. Active Reload lifesteal got reduced, Bullet lifesteal got reduced. Overall, every lifesteal in the game basically got a nerf in one form or another. Do I think lifesteal was an issue? On items? Maybe. I thought a lot of the anti-heal options were already really good, you know, you just had to buy Healbane or had to buy like Toxic Bullets. These are not like massive changes. Again, like this is gonna suck on something like Infuser, right? Like 80 to 70 is quite a big nerf. But it definitely was needed to nerf lifesteal on heroes. And these two I really agree with, right? So they nerfed the life drain heal from 80 to 75 on Lady Geist, and Siphon Life healing got reduced from 80-40 to 70-35. So we'll have to see how this plays out. Lifesteal weaker also means anti-heal is weaker, by the way, because again, there's going to be less lifesteal in the game, which means you need to buy less anti-heal. All right, let's get into the heroes. These are mostly, I've skimmed through them, these are mostly adjustments to the outliers that are really strong. Not like major balance changes, but like it definitely fixes some issues. Abrams fixed speed coming out of canceling shoulder charge being too high when hitting a hero. So this was the tech that you might have seen where Abrams charges through a hero and then speeds past them. So this is a nerf to Abrams. Apollo, disengaging sigil got nerfed. So this is a slight nerf to Apollo in lane. Actually quite a bit. Okay. Definitely did need a slight nerf in lane. He was very strong. Billy, Rising Ram tier 3 now also reduces cooldowns by 10%. So slight buff. Celeste, minor buffs to bullet cycle time, faster bullet cycle time. Shining Wonder radius increased, and Shining Wonder damage increased from 120 to 135, so small Celeste buffs. Dorman fixed a bug that would allow you to bring the urn through a doorway. Thank you, Yoshi. Yoshi was watching my video. That bug should have not been, was in the game for months. It finally got fixed. Thank you. Drifter, Ven tier 3 now also increases melee damage scaling. Blood Sand tier 3 increased from 10% amplified damage to 12. So slight drifter buffs. Again, no massive changes here. Nothing really outstanding so far. Dynamo Kinetic Pulse Spirit scaling reduced. Dynamo Quantum Entanglement cooldown increased by 1 second. Still very, very strong hero. Haze, restored being able to slide while using Bullet Dance. Bullet Dance range increased. Bullet Dance now has 30% evasion in the base ability. And Tier 2 got changed from 10% fire rate and 45 second cooldown reduction to 10% fire rate and 3 meter movement speed. And Tier 3 got changed from 60% invasion and 4 meter movement speed to 40% invasion and 75% cooldown. So a bit of a rerouting that overall should make Haze's Bullet Dance deadlier, especially on lower upgrades. Again, you get boons faster, right? So in general, this doesn't matter as much, but it's definitely slight nerfs, or sorry, slight buffs to Haze. Holiday fixed Rising Ram interrupting Lasso. Interesting change. Spirit Lasso Tier 1 damage increased. Spirit Lasso Tier 3 increased from 30 second cooldown to 50 second cooldown. So good buff to Holiday. She needs to be that guy. She needs to be that girl that catches people, right? She needs to be the initiator. And there's more of a reason to max Spirit Lasso now. Infernus. Flame Dash, Spirit scaling reduced from 1 to 0.7, and Flame Dash DPS now does half damage to objectives. Thank you, Yoshi. This shit was fucking stupid. The Infernus players just running past you, running into your objectives and getting free damage, suiciding over and over and still winning the game. This will, especially the second change here, is a significant nerf. Plus the scaling, again, is a lot weaker. So thank you. Hopefully it's enough to make Infernus less broken, and Dash Infernus was stupid. McGinnis, mini turret bounty from 80 to +2 per minute to 40 +4. Mini turrets being locked on objectives when they're invulnerable. Medicinal spectre duration increase. Slight buffs, nothing major. Nox Nostra DPS reduced. So Mina ult nerf. Mirage base health nerf. Base regen got reduced. And Fire Scarab's duration got reduced. Still a really, really crazy character, by the way. Moan Krill. Burrow move speed increased from 4 to 5. Page, stamina increased from 2 to 3. Dash speed reduced to slow bucket. Okay, so she's slower, but she has 3 stamina. Overall, still buffs. Plot armor, cooldown reduced. And bookworm recharge timer reduced. Again, very, very tight, like very slight buffs. Paradox, kinetic carabine, cooldown reduced. Time wall, tier 2 weapon damage increased. And kinetic carabine now provides 20% air dash distance when charged. Pocket Enchanter Satchel Spirit scaling increased and Affliction cooldown reduced. Pocket was already really good. This worries me, okay, but it's whatever. Rem fixed a bug with nap time that allowed you to attack while casting it. Pillow Toss recharge timer reduced. Actually buffs to Rem. The character was already really strong. Shift Altfire knockback reduced, so nerf. Serrated Knife Spirit scaling reduced. Serrated Knife Tier 3 Spirit scaling reduced, okay? So overall, nerfs to knives and nerfs to the movement tech that Shiv had, where you could just like get away for free. Silver fixed Tail Whack, applying -12% bullet resist for the disarm duration. Slam Fire current health as damage reduced from 4 to 3, okay? So, pretty big nerf to Slam Fire, I want to say. Venator, Gacha damage scaling reduced from 0.8 to 0.7, and Gacha wall hit damage scaling reduced from 0.9 to 0.8. This character was like basically the best carrier on high level, and he's still gonna be really, really strong. But this makes the very high burst damage he has when he knocks you into a wall a bit weaker. So welcome nerf, but is it enough? Probably not. Victor, Aura of Suffering got increased scaling, okay, so increased max DPS, and Shocking the Animation Tier 3 has an even lower cooldown on Tier 3. So they really want to make old Victor a thing. And again, remember Victor got a nerf to his gun, okay? So you might think it's buffs overall, but Victor right now is played as mostly a gun/hybrid character. So I want to say even with these slight buffs, he's overall weaker than before somehow, which he was already kind of bad. Viscous Goopball lockout period from being affected again reduced. A previous bug with increased debuff resistance, blah, blah, blah. So a nerf to Viscous, less chain stun on the ball. And fix various locations where Splatter didn't bounce properly. Okay, so bug fixes. And then last but not least, Viper. Lethal Venom cooldown increased. Lethal Venom Tier 2 cooldown got reduced. Okay, so on Tier 2 it's the same again. And then Lethal Venom cast range reduced by a lot. Okay, this is the biggest deal so far. Because, you know, if Viper doesn't get in range to cast her Lethal Venom, she couldn't one-shot you. But it does scale with boons now. And fixed armor piercing rounds doing damage through Petrify. This bug was in the game for a year, and it's finally gone. So overall, Good patch in terms of items. I really like the item refreshes. It's going to be interesting to play some of those new items, the reworked Trophy Collector, the new item, Indomitable. Opening rounds, this looks really interesting now on a lot of gun carries. And overall, gun should feel weaker. Viper should feel weaker. Inferno should be addressed. So overall, good changes. But again, no matchmaking changes. Yoshi, what are we doing? We need matchmaking changes now. But I'm down for it. It's definitely one of the more interesting patches in the last few weeks, months. So I'm all down for everything. Let me know what you think in the comments. And until next time, see you friends. Bye bye.